champion in the Gold Cup. Badsworth boy there in the picture. Let's see how they bet.
Rathgorman's back to 7-4. Badsworth boy 2-1. News King 9-2. Artifice 9-1. Drumgora 11-1. And the Mighty Mac still on 20-1.
And on the far side of those three, News King, he won 6 of his 8 starts last season. Very, very good at Ascot, this horse. John Frankham knows him inside out, has a very high opinion of him. Was just expressing that he thought the ground might have gone slightly against him, but it's not all that bad, if a little tacky. Interesting to see there that John's just fished his goggles out from inside his racing silks, obviously keeping them warm so that they don't mist up, because goggles aren't a lot of good if you can't see where you're going when you go to the first fence. They're coming in. Let's join Peter.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, Captain Dick Smalley calls them in, and they're away. And Drumgora and News King dispute the lead as they come to the first of the 12 fences. Drumgora, in fact, the former winner, going clear at the first, jumps it a little bit left-handed. News King jumps it second, then Artifice and Badsworth Boy and Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac, and they're going a real good clip coming down to the second. Drumgora well clear of News King, Artifice, Badsworth Boy and Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac. Quite a long run to the third. Drumgora from News King, Artifice, Badsworth Boy, Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac. Drumgora and Frank Berry setting a real good gallop from News King, Artifice and Badsworth Boy. Jumps it very big and bold to the leader. They're racing uphill now to the fourth. Drumgora clear of Artifice, now gone second. The News King on the inside of Badsworth Boy, and the Mighty Mac and Rathgorman matching strides. The fourth, Drumgora. Just pitches a little on landing there. Doesn't lose any impetus. Drumgora goes on still from Artifice, Badsworth Boy on the outside of News King, then Rathgorman, last year's winner, and the Mighty Mac. Number 5. Drumgora, Artifice, Badsworth Boy, News King. News King just pecked a little bit there. Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac, and this is the water. Number 6. Drumgora from Badsworth Boy, News King and Artifice. Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac. And now the first of the 2 ditches, or the regulation as they call it in Ireland. Badsworth Boy going up on the outside of Drumgora, a little between the two there. And then Artifice, News King, Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac. Another plain one before the final ditch, number 8. Badsworth Boy lands in the lead from Drumgora, Artifice, News King, Rathgorman and the Mighty Mac, and News King getting a reminder there from John Frankham. They come to the final ditch. Badsworth Boy jumps it clear. Rathgorman, a good jump on the outside of News King and Artifice. Drumgora's lost his place altogether. The Mighty Mac is tailed off and looks as though he may be pulled up. And now they've got 3 fences left to jump in the Queen Mother Champion chase. And it's Badsworth Boy clear of News King and Rathgorman, then Artifice and Drumgora. And the race now with a Michael Dickinson 1-2 look about it as Badsworth Boy comes to the third last from Rathgorman and News King. Badsworth Boy jumps it clear of News King and Rathgorman. Coming to the second last now. And Robert Earnshaw looks over his right shoulder, sees very little danger barring an accident. Badsworth Boy. Oh, he's made a bad mistake there. He got away with it. News King jumped it second. He made a bad mistake too. Rathgorman takes the initiative from News King. Artifice is 4th and 5th is Drumgora. But Badsworth Boy coming to the final fence now in the Queen Mother Champion chase and looking as though he only has to jump it to win it. In second is Rathgorman, then News King and Artifice coming to the final fence now. Badsworth Boy, ears pricked, measures it carefully, gets away from it well. A cheer from the crowd. It's going to be very close for second indeed. Rathgorman jumps it second, but Artifice finishing well on the near side. News King on the far side. Rathgorman loses his place as Badsworth Boy strides up to the line to win the Queen Mother Champion chase in great style. Artifice One of the old men of the party, in fact the old man, a 12-year-old, runs on gallantly to be second. Artifice is second and News King is third. And Drumgora gets up to relegate Rathgorman, last year's winner, to fifth, with the Mighty Mac finishing a long way behind the remainder. And so the official result: first, number 2, Badsworth Boy, owned by Mr. D.H. Armitage, trained by Michael Dickinson and ridden by Robert Earnshaw. Second was number 1, Artifice, owned by Mr. Paul K. Barber and Mr. John Thorne, trained by John Thorne and ridden by Peter Scudamore. And third was number 8, News King, owned by Mr. Terry Foreman and Mr. W.S.H. Bushiel, trained by Fred Winter and written by John Frankham. Fourth was number 5, Drumgora. This is the winner. Here's how he won it as we review it with Richard Pittman.
And as they came to the second last, this was the only moment of doubt for Badsworth Boy regarding his jumping. He's pricking his ears, cocking his head and looking almost at the people. He gets low. Robert Earnshaw gives him a reef on the reins, gathers him quickly, and behind him you can see John Frankham and News King also making a mistake, but John doesn't get shifted from a mistake like that. And on his outside, Rathgorman, who had been in trouble from the top of the hill and was never looking as if he was going to get back at his stable companion. He's definitely not his true form. Coming round the last bend, Robert Earnshaw has had a look. He knows there is no danger except that last fence. Having just made a mistake, he wasn't going to ask this horse for a great big leap at the last. But look, that must be 20 lengths between them. Just one fence now. What's he going to do, Badsworth? He shortens nicely and jumped as he had throughout the race, except for the second last. Robert Earnshaw secure now in the fact that he's no more fence. He's going to the last, 3 of them in line for second. Rathgorman weakening. In fact, even Drumgora goes on to pass him, so obviously he's not right. But Artifice running on nicely at the end of a race, all very tired. They'd gone a fair gallop throughout the race, and that ensured that when they finished, they were all going rather backwards at the end. So a good winner there, Badsworth Boy, the second of the day for Michael Dickinson.
Badsworth Boy, the 2-to-1 second favourite, having maintained his fine sequence this season, unbeaten now in 5 runs. So number 2 for Michael Dickinson. And the Ritz Club charity trophy is still wide open, with no rider having scored more than once. The scorers so far at the 1983 festival: Mr. Colin Magnier, Tommy Carmody, Richard Lindley, Joe Byrne, Alan Brown, Tommy Dunn, and today 2 of the Dickinson riders, Graham Bradley and Robert Earnshaw. Out of a Falcon mare, Falcon, himself a sprinter, the sire of the great night nurse. The safe bet that Artifice, the old man there of the field, will have pleased his connections by his second spot in the Queen Mother Champion Chase as much as the winner will have delighted his.
On the distances were a distance and 6 lengths, a distance and 6 lengths.
And the official margin there, a distance and 6 lengths. So the judge estimated that Badsworth Boy defeated his field by 30 lengths or more.
We have the starting races for the second race, the Queen Mother Champion Steeplechase. First number 2 was the Boy at 2-to-1. The second number 1, Artifice at 9-to-1. Third number 8, News King at 5-to-1. Number 9, Rathgorman was the 15-to-8.
And the tide having turned for Michael Dickinson following a very disappointing start. See him represented in the next, the Coral Golden Hurdle Final by Brunton.
Earlier, saying you didn't think he might be up to Cheltenham. Hurdle standard, but we didn't really think he was up to Cheltenham standard, but the jockeys who rode him previously in his previous races thought that he'd be better at 2.5 miles, so that was just our one stab in the dark, really.
And he won it very well in the end.
Well, bless him, yes.
And where were you watching the race?
I always watch it from inside on the television.
And did you shout him home?
I did, oh yes, too, I did, yes.
And I think I spotted you running out there to greet him.
I did, yes, I was very, very, very relieved.
And Badsworth Boy has done it really well.
Yes, he's always been a pretty good horse, but we've always been worried that he might not jump the Cheltenham fences. He's always better on the softer fences, but touchwood, he jumped very well today.
And Raf Gorman, and he was your champion last year?
Yes, he was. I'm afraid that's my fault. We haven't just quite got him right. Possibly you could say he's 11-year-old. He's not as good as he was, but earlier on this year, he was every bit as good as he was last year. But just this last 2 or 3 weeks, we haven't got him sparkling, and I think that's my fault and not his.
2 winners already. How do you feel about Brunton Park in the Coral race?
Well, it's quite a nice horse. I'm a little bit worried about the going. It's quite sticky, Jonathan. They're not going in a long way, but it's quite holding, and he may find it too sticky. But we'll have a bash.
Tomorrow, the Gold Cup, big test. How are the horses?
Well, I'm not over the moon with some of them. Silverbuck, I don't think is quite as well as he was last year. Last year, he was absolutely 100%, and I'm not as confident as I was last year about him.
I think you'll need it for the presentation. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Well done.
And Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, the First Lady of Steeplechasing, the most popular patron in the history of national hunt racing, to present the trophy, and Michael Dickinson being presented to Her Majesty. The former 2-mile champion Chase, only recently retitled to commemorate Her Majesty's name, Mr. Douglas Armitage, to receive the trophy won by his Badsworth Boy, a perpetual challenge trophy presented by the Cheltenham Steeplechase Company. Chairman on the right, Captain Miles Gosling. And Her Majesty waiting for the signal that the horses are weighed in. A race that she would dearly love to win herself, and hopefully will one day. The new style weighing room precinct, enabling many more people to get a close-up view of the post-race ceremonies here at this great festival. Where the weighed-in signal has just been announced, so Her Majesty presents the trophy to Mr. Douglas Armitage. And further members of the syndicate are introducing themselves to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother.
Well, that's the joy of having a winner at Cheltenham. Protocol perhaps goes a little bit out of the window. Well, 24 hours is a long time in racing, and Michael Dickinson was just saying that he's thinking of jumping off the top of the stand. I wonder if Robert Earnshaw was feeling the same. Robert, congratulations on that success.
Thank you.
You must have been a bit depressed yesterday evening.
Yesterday evening I wasn't feeling too good at all. I was ready for home.
What happened to Branding Iron, do you think, in the article?
It was really too bad to be true. You know, I think there's probably something wrong, or I hope there's something wrong, because you know, it wasn't his form at all. It was sort of, he's much better than that.
Did he made one or two jumping errors early on?
He did, but I was never going well, you know, and when you're on the bridle it's easier to get jumping. So.
Well, now, what about this race? Did you think before the race that you were on the right one, or did you think it was Raffles again?
I knew it would be very close. I suppose you'd have to fancy Rathcommon a little bit. So I thought it'd be a lot closer than it was anyway.
Well, we weren't sure how just fast they were going early on, but a mile out, you obviously decided they weren't going nearly fast enough, because you really kicked down the far side.
Well, when you ran at Liverpool, I was racing to the last, and he fell with me. So I was thinking I didn't want to have to take it up racing in case I fell, you know. So I decided it was better to take it up when I was going easily, and then I could hunt a little bit down the hill, you know. So that was the idea of that.
For 100 you may have done, but he nearly got you on the floor at the second last.
He did, yeah. We met it wrong, and it was either come up for a big one or pop, and he isn't too good at popping at all, so we had to come up for a big one, but he just dived a little bit.
Just got there.
Yeah, just.
And that was the worst moment, and obviously after that you could ease down a bit for the last.
I was further in front than I thought I was.
How does it feel being quite as far in front of that at Cheltenham? Because I don't think you've ever been that far in front before.
I've never been that far in front, no. It's nice.
Well, let's talk about tomorrow in Silverbuck. Michael Dickinson, just a little bit pessimistic just now. Gave the impression he felt the horse wasn't quite the 100% that he was last year. How are your feelings about it?
Possibly wouldn't be quite the same as he was last year, but I'm hopeful.
Did he? Of course, you didn't ride him the other day in his prep race.
I didn't know. Kevin rode him. There. So.
Was he pleased with him?
Kevin was pleased with him, yes. So.
Well, one more big ride today, and of course that's on the Sunlions right hand.
I'm afraid. What a lovely